So let me understand this correctly. Ankle socks and no-shows out, but crew socks in, like a 90s gym teacher? Hello, and welcome to another episode of Winter Lemaster. I've got the heater going because it's cold. Today we are going to be talking about some of the basic principles to be a good location scout. And before we get into that, I want to say thank you very much to FX Group for sponsoring today's episode. They have bought me a coffee this evening. I appreciate their support. FX Group is a full-service production company, and they can handle any and all of your production needs top to bottom. It doesn't matter whether you're doing web content or whether you're doing a full-on feature film. FX Group, check them out. Put a link in my description for them, and I will also put their website right here. Did it show up? Okay. Today we are talking a little bit about location scouting and what I've learned about the process. So as a producer, photographer, sometimes music video director, I have had to find locations. I have found these locations as part of a bigger project at hand. The location scout was a small factor in my responsibilities in the larger project. Oftentimes, the request was very specific. They already had an idea of where they wanted to be, what they wanted to see, the Gessner House, Pink Motel, Waimea Canyon, very targeted, right? So doing the actual scout, it was not that much of a creative process. You still have to keep in mind what would work and what wouldn't work. That kind of shapes the way you see things. The thing that changed, though, I got brought on board with the lead scout for a Star Wars film. Absolutely exactly what it sounds like. Gigantic project to be a part of, full-on bucket list. I can say I worked on a Star Wars film. That's cool. Being the guy who brings ice every day to set for a Star Wars film, that's still a cool job. You are a cool dude. And we'd been given months to do research, to build proposals, to put decks together. And luckily, our instincts and our research paid off. One of the biggest things is being able to be open and receptive to listening and trying to understand what it is that the client is looking for. The process became less about a specific target and more about understanding the story, the vibe, and the look of the entire universe, the entire Star Wars galaxy, right? Not every client is going to be the dream client where they're like, we are looking for a 10-foot by 10-foot door in a 2-story 1930s Art Deco building where we can shoot on a red couch with a maple tongue and groove floor. Not every client is going to be like that. As a result, when you get into the weeds of a client who is very on the creative spectrum, a client who's very kind of airy and open and says things like, I was hoping it was going to be a little bit more blue. Understanding who your client is, where they're coming from, and what their vision goal is a major, major component into you being able to kind of build out an idea of what you're going to show them. I did, at the end of last year, I did 2 back-to-backs. I did Indie Feature Scout. Here's the challenge. We are looking for some type of ghost town, abandoned town, and I was like, this is great. I have a treasure trove of abandoned locations, ghost towns, abandoned buildings, apocalyptic scenery in my Rolodex of locations. And then they threw the wrench in the whole plan and said, it has to be no more than an hour from LA. Everything I had on my roster is miles. We're talking out there, right? I took a lot of the lessons I learned from the Star Wars Scout and I began to apply it, and I started to do my research. So for example, this shoot that I was researching, they had to be within an hour, And they also had to have a crew. They had to have it so that they were able just to literally drive up to the abandoned area, the ghost town, the empty house, whatever it was, right? Usually when you're doing back-to-backs at, or multiples at a location, you're doing it in a block to save time and money. They didn't have that luxury. They, for whatever reason, they had to space it out so it was on like a weekend or middle of the week here, and just because of the way everything was working, SAG, release, and all this other stuff. All of those aspects, you know, all of the details that go into getting out of bed in the morning and how is that going to fit into your day. Those are the things you have to apply when you're doing your research for these locations. Like, how applicable is this? How accessible is this? Am I driving a car off a cliff? You know, is this an appropriate location for that? Will this match their vision? You're going to meet all kinds of different people, and you know how it is. Like, you got to go out on a limb. You got to put down your guard. You have to be a little bit more open and receptive to the individual personalities, because you're going to meet them all. You're going to meet the people who are super stoked about working in the industry, people who are very energetic and positive, people who are very supportive. You're going to meet people who don't know dick about communicating. People who think replying to an email with one word, no, or yes, or Friday, is like an adequate response when you're, you know, talking to somebody about trying to get some shit together for a location scout or a production, whatever. You're also going to meet those people who have been there and done it all, right? You're going to meet those people who always know more than you do, have met cooler, more popular, more famous people than you have worked on so many more big, important productions than you have. You're always going to meet those people. One of the things I've learned, especially working hand in hand with those guys on the Star Wars Scout, is just let it blow over you, man. Just let it blow over you. Just be nice. Normally, I just want to work. I just want to work with people who want to work. I want to have fun. I want to bring you along and share the wealth with people who are gracious and appreciative. One of the scouts on this job, on this Star Wars job, said it best. How it begins is how it ends. And when you meet all of these people, you're going to begin to really realize, man, how it begins is how it ends. If they are difficult and hard to work with and non-negotiable and rude and dicks and just generally assholes at the beginning, that's how it's going to be the entire way, all the way through the disastrous end. The other thing I learned about location scouting that is really key is you can't pull punches. If you have withheld key information, crew size, parking, duration, noise, what the shoot is about. There are some people who are very particular. They don't want to work with certain clients. They don't want to be associated with certain things. They don't want to be associated with certain people. You can't hide key important facts, because as a location scout, when you hand the project off to the producer, if you have in any way been disingenuous, it comes back on you. Now, when you have another location scout, that person's going to be like, fuck no. I opened up my location to you in the and expected mutual respect, and I got shafted. The people who came here were nothing like you said they were going to be. The project was nothing like you said it was going to be. If I had known all of this, the rate would have been way higher, but you advocated for them falsely. You can't do that. You have to be legit and transparent. This is the pizza you're going to get. And everybody's like, man, well, that's a lot of pizza, but I think we can deal with it, you know? So that is another aspect, is you need to be true. You need to be honest. Even if you've signed an NDA, there are ways to explain the situation without superseding or disrespecting your NDA. Following up is major, even if it's bad news, even if this client, this location is telling you, like, I'd love to have you, please come here, please shoot here, and you have to tell them, man, they have gone in another direction. You know, it sucks because, you know, I mean, I know me. I'm an eager to please type of person. I want everybody to be happy, and I love working on cool, creative, fun projects. I know these people I met on this Chevy Scout. They were so stoked, and they really wanted to be a part of it. They liked the theme of the shoot. They liked the scale of the shoot. They liked the scope of the shoot. A lot of really great, cool, talented, interesting people and locations. And when I had to tell them, like, hey, they're passing, or we've had to change direction, or it doesn't sync up with our schedule or whatever, I know it's a bummer, you know? So those are some of the things I learned location scouting. How it begins is how it ends. How it begins is how it ends. Let's give Nate from Spirit Adrift a thank you for allowing me to use one of his songs for the intro and outro. Let's give the FX group a big thank you also for believing in the channel and offering me a little bit of support here with the coffee funds. It's been great. See you next time on Winter a Master.